Welcome to the Let's Get Vulnerable podcast. Wow, Merry Christmas. It is Christmas Day, and I'm so excited for you to have this episode because we are going to be talking about something so important to you becoming your securely attached self. And this doesn't get talked about enough. I don't think that really we understand this as a society. So we're going to dive into it. And the topic is emotional regulation. When I say that word, I feel like people just think I mean like deep breathing. Maybe I don't know what comes to mind when I say emotional regulation. There's so many pieces that go into it. And my hope is that today you're going to better understand it. And then you're going to be able to work on becoming that securely attached person by better regulating your emotions. Before we dive in, I want you to know this is such an incredible time to do the work. We have the total healing package secure December offer where we're giving you $500 off of the Empowered.Secure.Loved program. So not only are you getting a discount, you're also getting the Breakup Academy, a whole other course. This is its own course in and of itself, and it's designed to help you fully release your past relationships. I'm giving that to you as my gift, my Christmas gift to you. You get that at no additional cost. It's usually $997, but I'm giving that to you. You'll also get a bonus month in the program. So instead of 2 months, you'll have 3 months of group coaching, one-on-one coaching. So you get all the support you need in your transformation to becoming securely attached. This is just such an incredible time to do the work. Not to mention that feeling of, okay, I'm taking action on who I'm meant to be. Whenever we commit and we say, I'm doing this, and then we actually do the thing that's going to get us closer to where we want to be, the second we commit, we start to feel better, right? It's like, even if I know that my health is not where I want it to be, for example, the second I say I'm all in and I sign up for the gym membership and I make sure that I'm adding vegetables to my grocery list, like the second I start taking the actions, you feel better. So that's how this is for your romantic life. I want you to know when you commit and you decide, I am ready to do this work, and you go apply to the program using the link in the show notes, you're going to start to feel better. So go apply. This is your year. Make 2025 your secure year. We are the only program that I know of that really uses both the science of attachment theory and also neuro-linguistic reprogramming, NLP, to rewire your brain and help you become securely attached. It's not just learning strategies, tools, tips. This is transformation at the deep level where you are releasing past relational trauma and then fully embodying your securely attached self. I talk about it on the podcast because I'm so passionate. This is my life's work. This is what I have devoted so much time and energy to, is this incredible, empowered, secure, loved program. And our clients are phenomenal. We have the most amazing clients, people who are really ready to do the work. So if you're listening, if you've been on the fence, if you got a bunch of material stuff for Christmas, but you know that's not really what you need, right? In your heart, you know you really do need to do the work so that you can stop repeating painful patterns and finally attract the relationship you deserve, then this message is for you. Go apply to the program using the link in the show notes, okay? All right, y'all. If you're on YouTube, you can see I've got my favorite sweater on. This is actually from my fiance. He got this for me last year, and it says, out of office, don't call, don't text. That's the vibes. Don't call, don't text. Out of office until January 2nd. But I also love this because it's just like 90s colors, and I was born in 89. So I'm definitely a 90s baby. I love all the neons. Um, Anyways, I think everyone needs like a favorite holiday sweater, and mine just happens to be this one. It's not red or green, but hey, I love it. Let's get into talking about emotional regulation. First off, here's how you know you struggle with emotional regulation, okay? If you are chronically fatigued, if you're tired all the time, if you struggle with challenging conversations, so maybe having difficult conversations with people is tough. If you struggle with taking risks, with trying new things, with putting yourself out there when you're dating, if you struggle with meeting new people, going to social gatherings, there are so many signs, right? I also know that you struggle with emotional regulation if you have a hard time saying no, if you find yourself being a people pleaser, right? There's so much in our life that we do that is unconscious that we use to avoid our emotions, right? Like another sign is maybe you are chronically on your phone, you're always watching Netflix. There's so much that we do that we unconsciously are avoiding regulating our emotions, right? And we're disconnecting from ourselves. So when I say the words emotional regulation, I am talking about, first off, you have to learn to be connected to your inner experience. So this means you have to know what's going on inside of your body, heart, mind, soul. You have to know what are the emotions that you're feeling. And maybe that sounds easy, but for so many of us, our brains have been wired to be focused externally, to be focused on what are the needs and feelings of others instead of going internal and asking ourselves what's going on for ourselves, right? So that's the first thing with emotional regulation. You have to know how to tune into yourself. And before I get too deep into this, why is this important in becoming your securely attached self and making 2025 your secure year? Why does this matter? Because when we can regulate our emotions, we can get close to people. We can allow people into our hearts. We can be vulnerable. We can take risks, right? When I can regulate my emotions, I trust myself that I can handle whatever comes up in my dating life and in my relationships. Why else is it important? Well, if I can't regulate my emotions myself, that means I'm going to try to rely on other people to do it. This is classic with anxious attachment, where somewhere along the way, you outsourced your emotional regulation to other people. So, this is where people get that feeling that they are too much. You are not too much. It's just that you are giving your power away by letting somebody else, by in your mind, believing that someone else has to soothe your emotions. Okay. You are not too much. You need to simply learn how to emotionally soothe yourself. And this is a big thing in becoming securely attached, is learning you can depend on yourself for showing up for your emotions, and you can depend on a partner, right? And then with avoidant attachment style, what's going on is we're saying basically emotions are not important and that they should be avoided because they're painful, and we're dissociating from our emotions, we're pushing them down, we're numbing our emotions, we're avoiding them at all costs, and then they just get bigger and bigger, right? And it causes resentment, it causes us to pull away. So emotional regulation, being able to do that, is at the core of healthy, securely attached relationships. We need it. We need it. So, number one, I already talked about the first step is the awareness. You have to start learning to tune inwards. And I just want to say this, there's no right or wrong way to learn to get your emotions balanced. There's no, oh, you have to do it the way that Dr. Morgan says. What I want you to commit to right now is that you will find a way. You will keep experimenting, you will practice, you will find things that work for you. And know this, different seasons of your life will require different ways of regulating your emotions. What works for you in one season won't work for you in another. There was a time in my life where boxing was what I needed. And I was in San Diego. I would go to the boxing club in San Diego. It was in East Village, this like really cool workout place. Okay. And I would just box. And I had a lot of anger I was processing. And that was what I needed at that time that would then help me get emotionally stable. I can tell you right now, I am in my soft girl era. I'm in my Pilates era, slow mornings club over here. Boxing is not what I need, but it was at one time. So it's just an example of we have different seasons. We have things that work for us at certain times, and then we need to shake it up. So the most important thing, if you're listening to this podcast, I want you to make this commitment. You will figure it out. You will find what works for you so that you can have emotional stability in your life. Okay. So that first step was awareness. And before that, even is making the commitment. We just talked about that. So we have the commitment. We're going to figure it out. We're learning to tune inwards. We're dedicated to getting awareness of what's going on internally. And I already know some of you listening are saying, Dr. Morgan, what does that look like? Well, there's different ways that can look for different people. I personally like to have my clients set a timer on their phone 3 times a day. Ideally, you would habit stack it. You would put it with something that you're already doing 3 times a day, like eating, drinking coffee, maybe. Maybe it's part of your commute or your daily walking. But what I want you to do is with that timer, it's just called the check-in. And you're going to tune inwards and you're just going to ask yourself this question. What am I feeling? What am I feeling? You're starting to train your brain to be curious about what you're feeling. So that's the first question. The second question is really important. What do I need to feel better supported? This is where you're getting attuned to your needs. You're becoming that ideal parent figure. You're saying, what do I need to be better supported? And you're going to listen and get really curious about what the answer is. And sometimes the answer is, okay, I need to go to bed at 8 p.m., or I need to call my friend, or I need to make sure that I'm eating better food because I can tell that I'm feeling exhausted. I'm having energy crashes. You're just going to ask yourself, what do I need to feel better supported? And sometimes it's nothing. Sometimes it's as simple as I need to schedule that girls' night for Thursday night because this week at work has kicked my butt and I really need something to look forward to. Okay. So we ask that question and we are curious about the answer and we have no judgment on what the answer is. We just are curious and we let it be. Whatever we need is what we need. And then we do our best to honor it. And sometimes it's, hey, I need to go on a 10-minute walk, or I need to go listen to my favorite song, or I need that Oprah video that I love on YouTube. But you get in the habit of saying, how can I better support myself? Okay. So this is step one. You're curious about yourself. You're intentionally tuning in. You're asking yourself, what am I feeling? You're identifying whatever the emotion is. Sometimes you can use a feelings wheel. Google it, go find a feelings wheel. Sometimes it's really helpful to just have all the different emotions. And then you just say that one, right? Instead of trying to tune in and come up with what it is. It can be helpful if you're just picking it out from a list, right? So you're doing that and then you're saying, what can I do to better support myself? So that I would put that all under step 1. Okay? That's proactive. That's you learning to tune in to yourself. I almost threw my coffee across the room because I was getting really passionate. That would have been fun for the YouTube people, just like my coffee just flying in front of the camera. Um, I do get passionate about this because this is stuff that should be taught in school and it's not. This is stuff that you and I should have learned. It should have been taught by our parents, but then they weren't taught and then it wasn't taught in school. So we have all of these adults walking around who don't know how to regulate their emotions. And not to be petty, but for some of you, it really shows, right? And hey, for me, sometimes it shows. Like these are skills that are so foundational that we really need. Okay. The second step after we have awareness and we're doing that proactive awareness is when you notice emotion rising, see how quickly you can notice it. The idea is that you want to catch it. I think of emotions as waves, right? We want to catch the emotion when it's the baby wave, not when it's the tsunami or the tidal wave. So start this game with yourself. How early on can you notice your emotions when they're showing up? And you want to do this thing where you are being the gentle observer. You are simply observing the emotion. You are not judging it. So get really, really good at noticing it and hopefully noticing it early on. And you just want to practice not having judgment. So it's something like this. I'll give you an example. I was trying to think of one from my life because I have gotten pretty good at this. So I'm pretty good at noticing things. Okay, I've got one. My partner and I recently went to Columbus, Ohio to visit his family and his mom and dad and his sister and his sister's husband. Anyways, we were there and we had a lovely time. And then we were preparing to leave and we're saying goodbye to his parents at the airport. And then I'm walking into the airport and I notice I have a lump in my throat. So I'm catching it. I feel sad. And then I go, okay, what am I feeling? And I realize, oh, I'm feeling guilty. And I have this whole story in my head. I have these emotions welling up. And the old me would have just pushed it aside, been like, hey, we got to go check in for our flight. But we were with plenty of time. And I stopped my partner, Robert, and I said, hey, can I check in with you for a second? And he's like, yeah, of course. And I said, you know what? I'm noticing I feel really sad about leaving your family. And the story that I'm telling myself is that I am taking you away from them by us living in Montana and da 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 da. Like I was able to express everything that was going on inside for me. And then my partner was able to hear me. He's able to say, wow, okay, I hear you. And we were able to have a really beautiful conversation where we both talked about how much we value family, why that's such a priority for us. And then we talked about creative ways that we can spend more time with his family in the future, right? So I think that that's such a great example because like I said, I could have pushed that away and that emotion could have gotten bigger and it could have came out sideways as emotions do, right? They tend to come out sideways when we don't deal with them. It could have came out as anger. A lot of times if we don't deal with sadness, it can come out as anger. Have you guys noticed that? It's a coping strategy, right? Anger is a surface emotion. The goal of step 2 here is Notice the emotion as soon as you can. Get good at noticing it when it's a baby wave. Identify it and then give it some language. Connect it to whatever story you're telling yourself, connect it to what's going on internally. And obviously in my example, I was able to speak to my partner, but this could just be something that you need to write out in your journal, you need to write out in your notes app. The idea is notice it when it's small and then get it out. Get it out some way, whether it's talking, on paper, etc. But you want to connect to it as early on as possible. Okay, let's move into step 3. What happens when we feel emotions? And what happens when we feel them in big ways and we are emotionally dysregulated? And even though we've been doing step 1 and step 2, the big emotions are happening. What happens then? I can tell you this. When you are having a big emotion, whether it's anger, sadness, disappointment, fear, jealousy, etc., whatever big emotion you're feeling, the most important thing for you to do is to allow yourself to feel the emotion and to feel emotionally safe while feeling it. The most important thing for you to do is to feel the emotion and feel emotionally safe while doing it. I had to repeat myself because I didn't say the most important thing for you to do is to judge yourself and get annoyed that you're feeling things, or the most important thing for you to do is to stop feeling and distract yourself. The most important thing for you to do is to feel it and to feel emotionally safe while you're feeling it. So how do we do this? Well, first off, you want to notice it. You want to name it, acknowledge what the emotion is. If I'm feeling a really big emotion, what's helpful for me is I like to put my hand over my heart and I like to really practice breathing deeply into my stomach. And one of the things that's helped me so much in healing how I express my emotions is simply this statement: I am safe. I want you to try that the next time you have a big emotion coming up, whatever it is. Can you practice breathing deeply and reminding yourself that you are safe? Another thing you might try doing is reminding yourself that you can ride the wave. Remember, emotions don't last forever. They come and they go. This is not going to overtake you. It is not too much. You can ride the wave of the emotion. So something like, I trust myself that I will be okay. I trust myself that I can feel these feelings and this is helpful for me to feel them. Whatever we're doing, the goal is we're going to pattern interrupt from what we used to do in the past, right? We're going to allow ourselves to feel. We're going to remind ourselves that we are emotionally safe. We're going to ride the wave. Okay. And then after we have done that, this could be a couple of minutes, this could be a couple of hours. Sometimes, if we have really big things going on in our lives, this could be a couple of days. But when we're working through it, the goal is to just be so kind, so compassionate. You're showing up as your ideal parent. You're being loving and kind and compassionate, right? Patient. And then as you're coming out of it, I would want you to ask, what do I need to move myself to baseline? What do I need to get myself back to emotionally stable, securely attached? What does it look like for me to move towards my baseline? And a lot of us don't even know what our baseline is. That's why I say you got to start with awareness. You got to start with learning to tune in with yourself. You need to start learning what is your baseline of your mood and emotions day to day. But that's what you want to do. And Lord knows you could Google it on the internet, all the different things you can do to help move yourself back to baseline. I know I've talked about things on this podcast. My all-time favorite thing is just learning how to practice mindfulness, self-compassion, of building that inner voice that is loving. I like to think of it as your emotionally available, ideal parent, learning how they would speak to you with your specific needs, what you specifically need to hear, internalizing that voice and practicing letting yourself take it in, right? That's probably my all-time favorite thing to do. But there's so many other things, right? We know with somatic work, I do somatic work with clients where we're in your body, we're connecting to parts of yourself, we're checking in with this part and that part. We're asking yourself, what does it feel like in your body, right? And just by identifying those feelings, you can help them leave your body. So there's somatic work. Of course, we also have all kinds of physical interventions. I am a huge fan, as you guys know. I am an athletic wear connoisseur. I love athletic wear, and it's because I love to move my body. I love yoga. I love walking, lifting weights, all of the physical activity. But I will say this. There was a long period in my life where I used fitness to avoid my emotions instead of move them through my body. So you want to very intentionally, if you are going to use fitness and movement, let it be supportive to you and not a way to numb and distract. So for example, simple change, right? Walking outside, listening to instrumental music. If you would have told me like 5 years ago that I would do that, I would be like, "What? You're listening to instrumental music and you're walking?" Because I was one of those intense people that wanted to have the mile time below 6 minute, 30 second. I was like, I got to get that mile time down. And I always had rap music blasting. I had to get the highest PR that I could on my deadlift, like very intense, intense, intense. But as I've gotten older, hello, 35, I've realized that movement that's really supportive to me is simultaneously calming my nervous system. It's reducing cortisol instead of increasing cortisol. And for me, if I'm going to use movement to help my emotional regulation, it needs to be like heart rate under 140, moderate intensity, but nothing intense. Now, don't get me wrong, I still love an intense workout, but I'm not using it to regulate my emotions, or better said, to avoid my emotions. That was just a little tangent, but I wonder how many of you can relate to this description. I feel like a lot of people, as you get into your mid 30s, you start to realize how your body responds to movement differently. Anyways, there's so many things you can do. Remember, I said at the beginning of this episode, it's not about doing the quote unquote right thing. It's about committing to finding the right thing for you. A lot of you also know I love a hot bath. So I cannot say enough how much nightly hot baths where I have Epsom salts and I'm simply, sometimes I read. A lot of times I just sit in silence. I do a lot of talking, as you guys know. So it's like, okay, silence. But the hot baths are extremely helpful. You need to find what works for you. So make the commitment. You will find what works for you to help regulate your emotions. Let's go over these steps one more time. I talked about 3 different things. Well, actually, the first thing was make the commitment. The second thing was getting really curious about what you're feeling and catching it when it's a baby wave, catching it early on. And then remember, I said we're going to allow ourselves to feel whatever we need to feel, and we will allow ourselves to feel emotionally safe while we are feeling our feelings. And we're practicing feeling emotionally safe with our big emotions, right? And then the third thing we talked about was, what do you need to do to move yourself to baseline? And just getting really, really curious. What does it look like for you to come back to an emotionally regulated state where you have some emotional capacity? What is it that you need specifically? And making sure that you're able to do that. Okay, y'all. Make 2025 your secure year. And if you need help, I would love to help you. We do have limited spots left in the Empowered.Secure.Loved program. This is the best time to join. Do the work so that you know for certain that 2025 is going to be different than 2024. You deserve to show up differently in your life, because then you will get different results. If we keep doing the same thing we've always done, we're going to get the results that we've always gotten. So it's time, make the decision, show up differently. To apply to the program, just use the link in the show notes. And I do want to remind you, in case you forgot, this is one of your last opportunities to apply for the giveaway prize pack, right? I should say to enter, not apply. All you have to do to enter to win one of the giveaway packs, go leave a written review of the podcast on Apple Podcasts, screenshot your review, DM it to me on Instagram at Dr. Morgan Coaching, or you can email it to support@Dr. Morgan Coaching. But these prize packs are ridiculous. We're giving you $100 gift card to Amazon. We are giving you the Boundaries Queen audio course. I love this course. It is the audio version of the internal work that you need to do so that you can set boundaries easily. We'll give you the Boundaries Are Hot hat and a copy of my book, Love Magnet. So this is ridiculous. This prize pack has so many good things in it, and I'm giving away 2 of them. And all you have to do, it takes 5 minutes, go leave a written review of the show on Apple Podcasts, screenshot it, and then send it to me on Instagram or email. And I want you to know, like, I am so grateful for this community, and I cannot believe it feels very surreal to me that we've hit 500 episodes. So this giveaway is just a small thank you to you for being part of this community. And if you're watching this on YouTube, hello. I also appreciate all the new YouTube folks. You can also enter the giveaway. Just go to Apple Podcasts and leave a review. And yeah, I just adore this community. I'm excited about 2025. I have some amazing content planned for you all. And let's make 2025 our securely attached year. We are becoming secure, and we are attracting all of the things that are meant for us. Okay. I'm sending you so much love, wishing you high self-worth and great relationships. Merry Christmas. And I will talk with you soon.